For today's cannabinoid, let's go over what's known about CBC, Cannabichromene. I'm Lex Pelger. I do canna education for CV Sciences, the makers of Plus CBD, and all the data from today's video can be found at CVResearch.info. Even though CBC was only discovered in 1966, it tends to be the third most prevalent cannabinoid in the plant after THC and CBD. And here you can see how different the structures are between the two molecules and how the rings are moved around. CBC is best known for its potential for inflammation, pain, and neuroprotection. CBC is known to bind strongly to the CB2 receptor, so that's good for immune system effects. It supposedly does not bind to the CB1 receptor and causes no psychoactivity, but I see mixed reports about CB1 receptor binding. So I don't think anyone's quite sure, but when you look at the responses of people who are taking this stuff on Reddit and places like that, they're not getting high from CBC. They might be getting a little bit more chilled out from it, but it doesn't seem to be causing that same kind of psychotropic high type effect. One mystery of CBC is we don't always know how it works. In some experiments, we know that it's not binding to the CB1 receptor or the CB2 receptor, but it's still causing some kind of beneficial effect. We do know that it binds to some of the TRP channels, which are ion channels related to pain transmission, so that could be one route. And for instance, when it helps out neural stem cells and benefits them and causes them to be more strong, it seems to be doing that via adenosine signaling, and that is the same signaling used by caffeine. But oftentimes, we just don't know how CBC does its good things. Not to surprise you, but because of prohibition, there aren't a ton of clinical trials on CBC. But this one is really interesting because when you give CBC as well as CBD and THC at the same time, it seems like the CBC gets preferential binding, as in your body tends to take in and bind to CBC before it does to CBD and THC. The ability of CBC to lower inflammation has been studied for decades, and intriguingly, when you combine THC with CBC, it causes more anti-inflammatory effects than either of them do by themselves. In rat models, when CBC lowers pain, it seems to do so via several different mechanisms. And not only does it improve the viability of those neural stem cells that we talked about, it also helps in a mouse model of depression. In a mouse model of epilepsy, CBC causes anticonvulsant effects. And in a mouse model of acute respiratory distress syndrome, something caused by COVID-19, CBC helped with both the lung inflammation as well as improved oxygenation of the blood. It helps in the guts of mice with diarrhea, and in their pineal glands, it reduces their melatonin output. And finally, CBC has been looked at as a treatment for both acne and for dry skin. Overall, it is a very intriguing cannabinoid, and it is available out there, but the studies have not been done to follow up on all of this great preclinical research. But I suspect in the future, people will be getting and seeking out CBC-rich hemp extracts to help with their health.